Once upon a time, in a small, quiet mountain village, there lived a humble stonecutter named Haru. Every single morning, just as the first light touched the peaks, he would make his way to the towering cliffs. There, under the relentless gaze of the burning sun, he'd swing his heavy hammer, cutting massive blocks of stone from the mountainside. His hands were calloused and rough from years of labor. His clothes were patched and torn, and his home was a simple, small hut that barely kept out the wind. Despite the hardships, Haru was a faithful worker. He did his job diligently every day, but deep within his heart, a quiet longing simmered. He dreamed of a better life, a life of comfort and ease. One scorching afternoon, while he was chipping away at a stubborn piece of granite, Haru paused to wipe the sweat from his brow. Just then, he saw a magnificent procession making its way along the dusty road below. It was a rich merchant, surrounded by servants carrying chests filled with gold and sparkling jewels. The merchant himself was dressed in the finest silk, looking cool and comfortable. Haru let out a long, weary sigh. He looked at his own dusty rags and his aching hands, then back at the splendid merchant. "Ah," he thought to himself, "if only I could be that rich man, to have such wealth, to be respected and free from this toil, then I would surely be happy." To his utter astonishment, a soft, gentle voice seemed to echo from the very air around him. It was a voice that was both powerful and kind, and it said, "Your wish is granted." In the blink of an eye, Haru's world transformed. The heavy hammer was gone from his hand. He was no longer standing on the hot, dusty cliffside. Instead, he found himself dressed in luxurious silk robes, riding a beautifully decorated horse. He was the rich merchant. Haru was overjoyed. He reveled in his new life of luxury. He ate the finest foods, lived in a grand house, and was treated with respect wherever he went. Servants attended to his every need. For a while, he believed he had found true happiness. He traveled from city to city, conducting business and enjoying his immense fortune. But this feeling of contentment wasn't to last. One day, as he was traveling through a bustling city, his entire procession was forced to a halt. The streets were cleared, and a hush fell over the crowd. The king was passing by. Soldiers in shining armor marched in perfect formation, and the people on the streets, rich and poor alike, bowed their heads low. Even Haru, the wealthy merchant, had to dismount his horse and kneel in reverence. As the king passed by in his magnificent golden carriage, Haru felt a pang of envy. He looked at the king's confident posture, the crown on his head, and the absolute power he commanded. The king is far more powerful than I am, Haru thought, his new wealth suddenly feeling insignificant. He commands armies and entire nations. Everyone must obey him. That is true power. I wish I were a king. And just as before, the mysterious, gentle voice whispered through the air, "Your wish is granted." Instantly, Haru was no longer a merchant kneeling in the dust. He was sitting on a massive, golden throne, a heavy, jeweled crown resting on his head. He was the king. He ruled his kingdom with an iron fist, filled with pride. He issued decrees, commanded his armies, and his word was law. He could have anything he desired, and everyone, from the lowest peasant to the wealthiest noble, bowed before him. He felt invincible. One hot summer day, the King Haru was walking in his vast, beautiful palace gardens. He admired the exotic flowers and listened to the songs of rare birds. But the sun beat down mercilessly. Its rays were scorching hot, and despite the shade of the trees, he began to feel uncomfortable. The heat was oppressive, and sweat beaded on his royal brow. He could command his soldiers to march into battle, but he couldn't command a single cloud to cover the sun. A frustrating thought entered his mind. "The sun," Haru said aloud, "is stronger than any king. It can make even me, the most powerful man on earth, feel weak. I wish I were the sun." And just like that, his wish was granted. He was no longer a king in a palace. He became the sun itself, a blazing, fiery orb, hanging high in the sky. He felt a tremendous sense of power as he shone his light across the entire world. He could scorch the fields, dry up the rivers, and make people seek shelter from his intense heat. He beamed down with all his might, proud of his boundless energy. But then, something began to change. Slowly, dark, puffy clouds started to drift across the sky. They gathered together, forming a thick, gray blanket that completely blocked his rays from reaching the earth below. He tried to shine through them, to burn them away with his heat. But the clouds were too dense. He felt his power being thwarted. The clouds are stronger than me, he thought in frustration. They can hide my light and defy my strength. I wish I were a cloud in an instant. He was no longer the blazing sun. He was a vast, heavy cloud, floating lazily through the atmosphere. He felt a new kind of power. He could drift wherever he pleased, casting shadows over the land. He could gather moisture and release it as a gentle drizzle or a furious downpour. He poured rain on the villages and fields below, watching the rivers swell. But as he was enjoying this new form, he felt a powerful force pushing him, shaping him, and driving him across the sky against his will. It was the wind. He realized, the wind is stronger than a cloud. It controls where I go. I wish I were the wind. His form dissipated and he became the wind. He was invisible but immensely powerful. He howled across the plains, shook the leaves from the trees, and tore the roofs from houses in a great storm. He was a force of nature, unstoppable and wild. He blew with all his might, enjoying the feeling of pure, untamed energy. Then he came upon a massive mountain, a colossal giant of stone that stood unyielding in his path. He blew against it with all his strength. He raged and whistled, trying to push it over, to wear it down, but the rock didn't even tremble. It stood still, silent and immense, completely indifferent to his fury. No matter how hard he tried, the rock would not move. He was exhausted and defeated. That rock, he thought in awe, is stronger than even the wind. It is truly immovable. I wish I were that rock. His wish was granted, and he became the rock. He was a huge stone mountain, solid, ancient, and unshakable. He felt a deep sense of peace and permanence. The sun beat down on him, the rain fell, and the wind howled, but nothing could disturb him. He stood firm and proud, a silent testament to enduring strength. He finally felt that he had found the ultimate form of power. He was content. But one morning, as the sun rose, he felt a strange sensation. A sharp, stinging pain on his side, followed by a rhythmic vibration that shook his very core. He focused his ancient consciousness on the spot and saw a small man standing there. The man was holding a hammer and a chisel, and he was hammering away at him, chipping and cutting away pieces of stone. It was a stone cutter. A profound realization washed over Haru. That man, he thought, his mind reeling. The one I used to be, he is chipping away at me, a great and mighty rock. He is more powerful than even a mountain. At that exact moment, the gentle voice spoke one last time, its words echoing with wisdom. Your lesson is learned, and with that Haru found himself back on the cliffside. The heavy hammer was in his hands, his clothes were torn and dusty, and the sun was warm on his back. He was once again Haru, the humble stonecutter. But something inside him had changed forever. He looked at his rough, strong hands, at the tools he knew so well, and at the mountain he worked with every day. A feeling of deep contentment filled him. From that day forward, Haru never wished to be anyone or anything else. He continued his work as a stonecutter, but now with a wise smile on his face. He understood that true power doesn't come from wealth, status, or commanding others. It lies in being content with who you are, in the strength of your own hard work, and in the simple, profound wisdom of being true to yourself. He had traveled the world as a merchant, a king, the sun, a cloud, the wind, and a mountain, only to discover that the greatest strength he ever possessed was the one he had all along. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that makes you think. We'll see you in the next video.